Hello, family. It's Pastor George, your pastor of stewardship, finance, and community engagement. Today, I'm clapping my hands already because you're going to be debt-free. We're going to show you how to get out of student loan debt. Got my co-pilot, Crystal Mozell. We're going to show you how to do it and how to build generational wealth. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hello, family. Pastor George here, ready for another exciting episode of SET-4-LIFE. By the way, this is one of our most important topics, but also this is one of the most asked topics. It's student loan debt. I'm going to tell you up front before I even give you these statistics. Can you please high five me? I mean, think about 5 people that you need to send this to that are also going to help. And then also we've done something called generational wealth. We're talking about for families. So think about brother, sister, cousin, anybody you know, friend, family member that also needs help in this area. All right, so just some statistics. And then I want to introduce our co-host is this. There's over $1.6 trillion in student loan debt. I didn't say thousands. I didn't say millions. I didn't even say 999 billion. 1.6 trillion. There are over 43.4 million borrowers that are in debt. Also want you to know this, startling. I think these statistics are startling. $37,113 is what the average student loan debt is for undergrad. Then graduate, $84,300 for a graduate degree. And then for a PhD, the average student loan debt is $107,008. I have a question for you. Which one of those statistics is the most staggering? But actually, the one that matters the most is what student loan debt you're in or in your family in. And that's a topic that we want to talk about in SET-4-LIFE because also it slows people down in the process of building wealth. So one of the things we're going to be covering this today. But hey, I'm not flying alone today. I have our co-host with us, Crystal. Crystal, how are you doing?
I am well, Pastor George, and it's a pleasure for me to be back with our SET-4-LIFE family. I'm happy to be here. This is a topic that I am passionate about because you know how I feel about it. First of all, if you don't get in debt, you don't have to pay nobody back, right?
Right.
We're called to be the lender and not the borrower.
Exactly.
So with that being said, I want our audience to understand and know, let's make preparations not to even get into student loan debt to begin with. So how do you get out of it? Don't get into it. That's the number one thing. And there's several ways that we can do that, right? I don't want to leave people without a solution. Right. One of the ways is we have our 529, right? Where you can save. Parents, grandparents. I do this for my granddaughter. Right. Instead of birthday gifts, I send out on the invitation. I ask them, yes, I do ask them instead of birthday gifts. Now, she gets them. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. We don't do the no
I'm ready to call Child Protective Service like they do on me all the time.
Christmas and birthdays. With the invitation, it says, in lieu of gifts and presents, if you would contribute to her 529 plan. And I give them the option. They can do it electronically, sending it themselves from their account to hers. They can put a check in the mail that goes directly to the account. And then we also have it, you give us the check and we'll go ahead and deposit it in.
Right. Gotcha.
So,
can I jump in there real quick? So Crystal, as you know, that's one of the things, but everybody, what she's talking about is that when we taught generational wealth, and these are also links that we'll also put in the chat is this. There's something called a 529 plan, which is a college savings plan. So you begin to save for your kids in college. So one of the things that we've been teaching is that instead of buying a whole bunch of Christmas presents, focus on getting people a gift. Yes, they've talked me into it, so I do that, or I watch and sit there and all the time and in doing this. But then also sitting with your kids and teaching them. Because one of the things is, for everybody is learning that if you want to build generational wealth, you need 2 things. One is knowledge. You're teaching them knowledge by having them learn about saving for college. The second thing that you're teaching is the money. is that you're being intentional about how you're spending money in those areas. And then once you start the accounts, they can really grow.
Exactly.
It's funny, we were talking a little bit earlier, and I was talking to my children at this age, the 10-year-olds where their teeth are coming out. And then there's a tooth fairy where they come out and they say, hey, we're going to give people a certain amount of money. And I'm saying, well, hey, look, if we're giving people $5 or $10, also give them whichever amount of money you give them, but then also say, hey, what stock do you want to buy? And then now not giving out stock recommendations, but I was sitting with my son the other day and he said he couldn't decide between Amazon, he's talking about stocks, but Amazon, Apple, or he was talking about, or Roblox. These are all things or products that they use, and doing it. So that's a great way of starting. So putting money towards that in that area.
Most definitely. So that's what we ask the people who come to give to that. Right. Now, granted, and they have the option. When they get there, we do the money tree. You can put it on the money tree or in the money box. It's one or the other. Right. But it is a way for not only them to understand and see, but for my granddaughter Liberty to understand that this is something that we're preparing for. So it's an expectation that I have of you, right, that you are going to go to post-secondary school, right, in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And the caveat is I also want to say is that the 529 isn't just for college. It can be for trade school and some other things that the 529, they've expanded the use for it. So that's a right, wonderful thing that is there. So first and foremost, I want our audience to understand that let's not get into debt. And how do you not get into debt? Creating a plan and a budget. You're already a college student. You already have gotten your FAFSA completed, and it says that you have a shortfall of $5,000 per semester, right? You think the only option you have is a loan. The only option is not a loan. You can work, and we talk about this all the time, create a budget, right? Have a debt job. Right. That it won't be debt if you're working and paying for it as you go. And
then also look at getting a job. This is something that also in college that if I look at it, I had a job on campus, work study, that was like I worked in the library. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like I work in training. So make sure you're open to all the options or a job that will actually help you. Because that's how I actually got to meet a lot of the professors and different things. Or I used to set up audiovisual, me sitting in the class. You know what I mean? Like, so always look at what job we're going to do that's also going to further your career, what you're doing.
Definitely. And work study can do that for you. Yes. Those options are there. So that's the very first thing that I want to talk about. But getting into the nuts and bolts of student loan. You guys, we've all heard about the Biden plan. I just want to bring it up. I want everyone to know that the Biden plan is not a plan at this time, right? That we're discussing this right now. So we can't count on that. Right now, up until May 1st of 2022, if you have student loans, your interest has been ceased. There's no interest being accrued on student loans up until May 1st. This is part of the CARES Act. Yeah. The other thing is that payments are not due on student loans right now because of the CARES Act, and collections are not being taken. So May 1st is the deadline that all this is going to stop. So you need to have a plan of action if you actually have a student loan at this point in time.
Right. But also those aren't solutions. Those are just not paying interest.
That's it.
So I think a lot of times when people go out there and say, I'm waiting on this to happen, or I'm waiting on that to happen. The challenge with all these programs are, if we're waiting for them to happen, is if they don't happen, then we still have the debt. And
exactly.
We're still doing it.
It's not going nowhere. That's the whole thing. So what do we always talk about? Having a plan. Not going nowhere. That's the whole thing. So what do we always talk about? Having a plan. Right. You always have to have a plan. Right now, you got an extended time to have a plan. Right. Up until May 1st. But you need to make sure that you're creating that plan. There's several different plans for repayment of loans.
Right.
One of the biggest ones is student loan forgiveness. That's what we're here to talk about.
So that's why I'm talking about forgiveness. Before we go on this, I also want everybody to know. So we started doing student loan seminars. We used to do them in our How To Tuesdays, and we did them, and we've been teaching. And Crystal's actually been doing this for years. So this is the mechanics of it, and I want you to talk about like how we intake, how like you kind of look at someone's situation, and then we're going to give you some information that you can kind of let us know. But we want to make sure we're giving you the general information so that you can kind of start going down the right path for some of the forgiveness plans. And then I like to come back with just I'm going to come back with just how you pay off student loan debt and all debt.
Any debt. There you go. There you go. So first of all, you need to go to studentaid.gov.
Studentaid.gov.
Create an account if you don't have one. StudentAid.gov is going to tell you any direct loans or federal loans that you have with the student aid that you've been approved for. This does not always include private loans. Sometimes students take out private loans. Those might not be included. But if you are on default or haven't paid them, you can best believe you got a letter from them, so you know
right.
that you have them without question. But that's the very first thing you want to do. See what you have. There is going to give you a plethora of information, how much your payments are or what they're going to be if you haven't paid on them, when they're due, if they're in default. Everything you want to know will be there on that webpage under your account, under your social, and you'll have a student ID number that goes with it. But what ends up happening is that will tell you then what your next steps will be. Everybody wants to know, well, my situation is this. We get this all the time, and they just say it out loud and blurt out to everybody. I got $250,000 in loans. I don't know what to do. I'm drowning in debt. Well, that's too much information, and we need to look at each person individually. We can't give you a blanketed answer as to what's good for everybody.
But it's good to get a good start of what's going on so we know the pictures, because a lot of people just that I'm seeing that are coming up to me and asking, or they're sending me emails, they actually just don't know what the debt is, and they're just trying to avoid it, and then keep it furlough, and then go take another. You know, if you're taking that Spanish class somewhere at a school you don't even know, just so you don't have to pay. Is the challenge with that is that people are coming to me and they're saying they're just tired of it, and then they want to get it fixed. Like, in other words, like after people graduate from school, we're seeing a lot more people live with their parents. Mm-hmm. And that's why we go back to family financial planning. Like, we're like, hey, let's figure out how, when you can do that, how to pay. Because a lot of people are just saying there's something called net worth, have what's called a negative net worth, because they're saying, oh, what is your net worth? Oh, I'm negative $100,000 because I don't have anything. But you want to learn how to leverage your education for more income to be able to do these things to pay it off. But I'm sorry, go ahead. So
most definitely. And so getting into student loan forgiveness, that is an option that some people have based on what career choice you make after you receive your degree, or after you collect or once you get your student loan, right? They can forgive a specific amount or a certain amount of your loan based on what employment options you take. Teachers have that option. We call it the heroes, right? We have our teachers, our police officers, our firefighters. Those individuals have options where their student loans can be forgiven. That's part of the student loan forgiveness program. If you are not in that area of career choice, then there's other things that you can do. You have AmeriCorps, which will give you a certain amount of money every year for participating in their programs. You can work during the summer there. Actually, there's a program where the grandparents can work and volunteer, and their work will go toward your student loan debt.
What? Okay, make sure you got you. That's okay. Make sure we put that in there. And also, school teachers have to work at a certain school.
Oh, yes.
Or in school. So
you
we want to find out, because they're in certain zones and they call up and they do it, and then there's certain ones that move around.
Exactly.
So we want to make sure that we're looking at that.
Most definitely. And that's why we can't say we can tailor this to just one individual in one way, right? We have to know the full situation in order to tell you. Now, all this information is online. It's not information that is just privy to us. Right. This is information you can find out. The one thing that I do not suggest that people fall into is you have these companies that call you and tell you that are scam and spams, right? That call folks and tell them, oh, we'll get your student loan forgiveness. We'll get it for you. We'll collect this XYZ dollar fee. Really?
Okay,
you know that.
Okay.
It's a scam for everything, Pastor George. Anything people think they can make some money off of people, they will do it. I get calls, and I'm sure you probably just don't answer them, but they call you all the time asking you your student loans are coming up. What can we do? We can help you get them paid.
Right.
Press number 5 to get connected to an operator.
You know I'm joking, because I say that because I want to be serious here. I get really irritated at that, because a lot of times, a lot of these scams are perpetrated against people that you said heroes. School teachers telling them to do this or refinance or do something when it was with somewhere where it can be forgiven right where it's at. And people are making the wrong decision. That's I'm gonna say these are all number ones irritating to me, but also firefighters. But then the ones that make me, 60 Minutes did an article on this, and it made me so mad I couldn't watch it anymore. And doing it is when we see this happen to people in the military where they can't even call and get help because they're overseas fighting and then coming back and trying to do this. So that's why we want to make sure we're giving out the information to be able to help you. But yeah, but the military, the firefighters, or just anybody, I want to make sure that they're utilizing all the resources and in doing that.
Most definitely. So you guys if they ask you to pay for something, don't do it. Because you can do it for free. Right. The thing is, you're already in debt. Why create some more debt, or you use money that can be going towards your debt to pay somebody else to do it?
Right. And our adage is that you guys, by the way, you can't finance your way out of debt. You can't borrow your way out of debt. So moving the debt around doesn't help. Not paying the debt doesn't. We want forgiveness, but then I want to go through how we pay it off to. And one last thing about scams is this: we also ran a video. We also make sure you guys will give our website at the bottom. We met with the executive director of the Securities and Exchange Commission and did a full interview with Ms. Lane, and you can see those. And she also, I brought that up, I believe, as well.
Yes, definitely. So that's one of the biggest benefits is the loan forgiveness program for those individuals who can apply for it, that is applicable to. But there are about 7 different repayment plans that will take us all day to discuss. But I'll hit the top ones that people can utilize. So if you find yourself not making enough money to pay your debt, and it's cumbersome and difficult, you have the income based repayment plan. It's based upon your income. So as you earn more, you pay more. So each year there's a requalification that you have to go through in order to get the income-based repayment, or graduated payment plan. And they kind of work the same, the income-based and the graduated plan. You have your standard. Standard is they take 15 to 25% of your discretionary income, and you pay that. Most of your student loan debt should not last longer than 10 years. If you're going beyond 10 years, we definitely need a plan. Okay, you should not be carrying student loan debt from the day you got out of school to the day you go to see Jesus. That should not be the case.
Right, but unfortunately there are people that we've talked to, and it's the same thing with homes. And then I just want to just explain to you another mindset. There are actually people that think that they'll never pay off their student loans. So they're just trying to just keep them going, or there's no set plan. Second thing is the same thing with houses. Mm-hmm. So that's why I want to make sure that you understand, like, we're going to pay this off and this is going to be a period of time. But I promise I'm going to come back to that. Right.
Definitely. And the plans, again, they are specialized to the individual's circumstance. So we just want you guys to definitely see what it is, get the most bang for your buck, and know that there are things out there to help you so that you're not looking at paying for student loan debt or passing on student loan debt to others. Thank God you can't do that now, but that you don't pass and then you have student loan debt.
Right. But also, though, there are people passing on. There are parents that got loans for kids, and then now they're still they're still paying on them.
Yes.
So that goes back to the family financial plan. That's why I want to have a plan for the entire family to pay off those debts.
So they need to be in dollars and cents, right?
There you go. Got anything else about forgiveness? And then
not about forgiveness. I just want you guys to understand that there is a plan out there for you, and there's one specific to you and your situation, and it's based on what your particular situation is. As far as everybody's not going to be in a forgiveness plan. Everyone does not qualify for forgiveness. Right. But let's make sure that you don't qualify for it. And if you do, take advantage of it. If you don't, we have to have that plan to pay off that debt.
Right. And hey, jump in here whenever you're ready or anything like that. So, hey, everybody, I want to walk through right now how to get out of student loan debt or any other debt or any kind of debt right now. And I want to walk you through it. Now, first of all, with all these programs, you still need to pay the minimum payments. You still need to be involved. You still have to be caught up. But let me tell you how to get out of any debt. And then also, I'm going to say this, I mean it humbly, but also you're sitting is I have no student loan debt, but also I had a different plan. My dad did. Shout out to George Senior. That is, we went to sports, the sports route, but also from someone who's paid off a home in Los Angeles, California, and does this and pays off hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So let me just tell you how you actually pay off debt. Number one is you identify how much that debt is, and you have a plan. That is step one. You have a plan. And then number two, you have a why you want to achieve that plan. So that has to be more than that. Like right now I'm doing a thing. We did a series where you saw the health people come in and we had to get a why workout. We work out for our kids. The reason why I wanted to pay off the debt was I wanted to be able to leave generational wealth for my family. You have to have and also one of the biggest deterrents of generational wealth or biggest deterrents people is debt. Because they'll say that they can't buy a home for that reason. Well, I don't know what the statistics are for that, but that's one of them. Also, you can't open up a business because you're saddled with that debt. And then guess what? I went and talked to them. I'm putting them on the spot, the young adults. And when I went to talk to them, they were saying, they were going to say, hey, are you going to date her? Oh, I can't. She has too much student loan debt. I'm not going to call out any names or anything like that. But those are one of the reasons why people are doing that, and it's held back. So number one, we want to have a specific plan, okay? Then the next, we want to pay more than we owe. You want to accelerate payments. So like when we're paying mortgages or we're paying student loan debts, we're focused on student loan debts today, we have to pay more than we owe. They give you a 10-year schedule and it's this amount. How you make it 5 years, you pay twice as much as they're asking for that. So then we want to, number one, do that. And then before Crystal jumps in here, and Crystal's already shouting out, get a budget. So number one, then next, you want to have a budget that is less, spending less. So you're saving, first of all, you're giving. Number one, you always want to give. Put God first. You want to give. So then you're giving, a tithe means tenth. So you're giving 10%. Then listen to this. There's a debt multiplier we're going to show you. So that's how to get out of debt. So that multipliers in this. So I'm going to use the word 10% right now. And so now you have your income, then you have your outgo. And in between that, so we're spending less and your outgo. And in between that number is something called a margin. That's where you utilize to pay down debt and to invest. Because I'm actually telling you to invest. So that means you need to make more money. There are several ways to make more money, and you need to decide how to do that. Now, before you jump in, let me tell you the 3 ways I would do it, okay? Number one, I live here in Los Angeles, Inglewood area. I would have got me a bus and drove people to them games at the Forum and SoFi. You would have paid off all that debt all during one football season. Yeah, one football season. Okay, but number one, find out what you're going to do. If you're a photographer, take pictures, you're doing this, get a side hustle, whatever you want to do. But that is literally, we cover this and we talk about this, is that you get a debt job or you get, I'm going to call it a wealth building job, where you're paying down debt and you're investing. But you pick it. By the way, we do classes on this and we also do business classes. So make more income, spend less so you can make that margin wider. Then we start walking through our principles. And we have something, it's called money in motion, where you write down your debt, how much you owe, your budget, and then how much, we call it prosperity dollars. She brought up prosperity jar and money tree earlier. And then what you do is you have that grid that is also in all of our wealth cycle materials and everything like this. And then you start paying down that debt. Then the next thing we do, after we find out what our margin is, after we find out that we begin how we're going to make more money, after we find out how we're going to spend less, then here comes the most important one. We're going to use our minds. We got to be disciplined. Yeah. I'm going to use discipline in 2 areas. Discipline means we want to stay on the plan. That means we don't go out when we start paying down the debt and buy a new car. Just before we do that, we want to pay down our debt. And also that means as we're making more money and we're doing certain things, we also want to be patient. There may be things that you want to do to be able to do that. And then you walk through the process. All right? Then I want to bring up one more example, and then I'm going to flip it back to Crystal and let her, because I know she's chopping the bit over here. One more thing. If you ask me, if there's couples that have come to me, and they said that I have 100,000, I have over 6 figures. This other person, My spouse has over 6 figures. The husband has 6 figures. Wife has 6 figures. They both have PhDs. One, they want to pay more, but also, if you ask me personally what I would do, I'd also do real estate. I would buy I'm going to say this and then I'm going to put it down. I would buy the absolute ugliest house I could find in the absolute worst condition in the best neighborhood on the largest lot. And I would fix it up little by little. And then I would sell that and pay off all the debt. Or I would cash flow it. Now, if you say, Pastor George, how do I do that? We have our real estate guru, Danette, and we did a show, and it was called Don't Sell Grandma's House. That house is already sold. And the house was, by the way, we're in California. It was for $500,000 in Inglewood, sold for $700,000. I'm going to sit over a little over $700,000. I'm going to go through it. Now I see work crews there working on it all day. They're going to refurbish this house, and then I would have put a triplex on that property, but I don't want to get into it. But they could have paid off anyone's two PhDs if they would have bought that and they would have sold it. Now, again, I would have cash flowed it. But I just want to make sure why I'm going over all this is I want to make sure you understand all the solutions that are available to you. So anything else you want to add before I can?
Well, in that though, they need to understand the ebbs and flows of things, right? We discuss most of the same thing. We come back to the same thing all the time. Have a plan, have a budget. Stop looking at things as being debilitating or limiting.
Right.
And once you have that plan, it actually opens up the world to you. And it's no different with student loan debt, just like you explained, Pastor George. Yeah. And I need people, just like you said, change that mindset, right? Let's get into stop the negativity or negative part of things and start looking at the positive side of it. Yes, you got it. You have your degree now. Prayerfully, you have your degree. And now let's look how we can make this work for us and not against us, because it does. It can ruin marriages. We already talked about that as far as relationships are concerned in a past series. It ends up affecting your children because of what it is that you can't do, and then your grandchildren on top of it. So let's create that plan, you guys. We can't even say it enough that you have to have that plan in order to, and execute that plan, not just have it, but execute that plan and be disciplined with it. Okay. The last thing that I want to leave people with is that we are here to be of assistance. Right. So if it's something that you are struggling with, email me, send us an email, fcbcstewardship@faithfamily.org, and we can look at this and try and figure it out together. That's what we are here to do, is to help. We said help is on the way. We're here bringing some help. And if we don't know the answers, we're going to find somebody who can assist you with the answer.
Right. People are so blessed to have, I'm going to say this, is Crystal helping in the other areas. We're also going to be doing a show about all the different other areas that she helps with Operation Hope and all these areas. But I just want to make sure people utilize this opportunity, is that we do something that's hands-on with you. So one of the things that really helps is that dollars and cents.
Definitely.
And dollars and cents, we teach a class that teaches people about how they manage their finances, so we look at them. And I think that that's very helpful.
Most definitely.
Of what you do. So in conclusion, what I wanted to say is that when you I want you to really look at your student loan debt, and I want you to look at it a little bit bigger. Look at it in your family in the area of generational wealth. So whether you're a parent that has children that have student loan debt, whether you have the student loan debt and you have a family, look at how your family can do this together. So first of all, say, well, how can our family get involved? Like, hey, do I need to move in with somebody that then I can save the money for us to be able to buy another property that can help my parents be able to retire quicker? Or can I do this? But let's look at how I can raise our income, reduce our expenses, so that we can pay the student loan debt. But hold on, you guys, I know you guys think we're still on student loan, but hopefully you heard some things that you haven't heard before, like, hey, invest. Like, well, how do I invest? We have to move those margins to be able to do that, because that's how you do it. Because like what we said earlier, let's say you go back to that real estate property, or go back to you owning investments, or however you're going to do it. And then at the end, you pay off the debt, because that can't be your only goal. Did you guys see that? It's okay. You can shout me out in the chat. You can see how I snuck that in there? Because see, if you pay off all your debt, then you're at zero. You don't want to be at, we don't want you to be at zero. We want to show you how to do that. So I walk through all the elements of how you do that, but make sure you incorporate all of them, and especially in the area of giving. Because one of the things is that a lot of times people say, well, I'm going to give after I do this. But I'm saying, I want you to be able to experience God's blessing as you're walking through this. So that's actually how you do it. And then again, we're here to walk through this with you. So that's how you get out of student loan debt. But I want you to think about this a little better. How to get out of debt in general. So as you know, we teach classes. I got to do it one time. They're called Do Good. So can you just say this verbally to yourself? Do good. And good stands for get out of debt. I also do affirmations when you come live, so I'm going to do a couple with you. I want you to say this. I'm good with money. I'm good at investing. Watch this. I'm completely debt-free. You understand? I had to learn how to say that before it happened. Because what happens is you have to start developing that mindset. Money intelligence need discipline, and we walk you through it. And that's how you do it. Pray that you enjoyed our show, that you learned something, that you apply it in your lives, and then I'm going to ask you to give me a high five. Think of 5 people you need to share this with. And by the way, we have a lot of resources. You can always go to georgebthompson.com. I have them all. And then also it's back in action. People always used to tell me this time, I can't find George. I can't find George. Go to a website, ican'tfindgeorge.com. in your browser, and it'll come up my link tree and give you all the resources from investing to real estate to the shows, everything. ican'tfindgeorge.com, or you can always join us here at faithfulcentral.com. All right, again, I'm your pastor of stewardship, finance, and community engagement, co-host Crystal Mozell. Look forward to seeing you on our next episode. God bless you.